Today we'll be discussing how you can become a citizen scientist at home. Just so you know, this presentation will be recorded and posted online. If you'd like to follow along on the Citizen Science app or website that I'm discussing, make sure to have two devices handy. For example, a computer to watch the presentation and a smartphone to try an app. If you are new to these resources, I recommend watching the entire presentation and then re-watching it while following along on a device. Let's start with discussing what citizen science is. In citizen science, the public participates voluntarily in the scientific process, addressing real-world problems in ways that may include formulating research questions, conducting scientific experiments, collecting and analyzing data, interpreting results, making new discoveries, developing technologies and applications, and solving complex problems. The apps that we'll be looking at today focus on collecting and analyzing data. Citizen science projects bring together large numbers of individuals, each of whom contribute a relatively small portion of the overall effort. So you might ask, what do citizen science projects have in common? Well, there are four common features. Anyone can participate. Participants use the same protocol so data can be combined and be high quality. Data can help real scientists come to real conclusions, and a wide community of scientists and volunteers work together and share data to which the public as well as scientists have access. This presentation will introduce you to a few of my favorite citizen science resources seen on your screen, but there are many others. I'll provide a list of some others at the end of this presentation. My intention with this presentation is for you to learn about a few citizen science resources and activities that you can try today without leaving your home, yard, or neighborhood, without spending any money, and without necessarily knowing anything about science. Even if you already know about some of these resources, I bet you'll learn about a couple new ones. These citizen science platforms have whole communities of experts, including biologists, botanists, ornithologists, entomologists, naturalists, etc., dedicated to monitoring them and adding data to them. I have found these moderators and super users incredibly helpful and conscientious. They take note when you are acting in good faith and when you're open to learning new things. In order to minimize the possibility of technological difficulties during this presentation, I have pre-recorded tutorials for each of the apps and websites. After each tutorial, I will pause the recording to answer questions. To send me a question at any time, please use the Zoom chat function. If I don't get to your question during the presentation, I will get back to you with an answer later. The first citizen science resource I'd like to tell you about is called CalFlora. You can access CalFlora on the web by going to calflora.org. It's a website you can use to learn about plants that grow wild in California, both native plants and weeds. It's also a nonprofit organization responsible for providing this service. I'm going to start by introducing the website, and then we'll look at CalFlora's Observer Pro smartphone app and how you can make an observation on that app. There are lots of fun things you can do on the CalFlora website, including the planting guide. The planting guide allows you to type in an address and get suggestions on which California native plants to grow at that address. Press enter and then search. The database has generated these species for this location, in this case 8 trees. If you're interested in learning more about the specific tree, just click on the scientific name. But even in this view, you're provided with the bloom period, May through July in this case, and the fact that pollinators enjoy this plant. Another fun feature of the CalFlora website is what grows here. You can enter an address and find out about the plants that grow at that location. Great Places is a feature that allows you to find the best locations for viewing native plants. Now let's look at what a citizen scientist's observation looks like by doing a search on the website. Say a friend told you about a plant called common yarrow, but you've never heard of it before. Enter the name of the plant into the plant name box and press enter or search. It brings up the plant, and in order to see more about it, click on the scientific name. We are now in the taxon report for common yarrow. It shows the bloom period, family, genus, and some information about habitat and toxicity. These blue dots show where people have made observations all across California. Let's take a closer look at one of the observations. Click on Observation Search, and this will load up the observations in the specific area that I would like to look at. Instead of looking at all of California, let's look at Contra Costa. Let's also just look at CalFlora observations. So I'm going to close those sources for now, and I'm also going to get rid of people's checklists. So now I'm going to hit search, and these are the observations of common yarrow in Contra Costa that have been added as observations in CalFlora. Let's click on this blue dot and let's look at the record detail to see what it's all about. So the citizen scientist Leslie Hunt added this observation of common yarrow in the wild. She took this photo and uploaded it. The date was automatically saved, and so was the GPS coordinates. So you don't have to worry about entering in your information if you are currently in the location of the plant. She also added some notes, which is great to do if you can. She also saw these plants near the yarrow. She also notated that the plant was flowering and that she found it in an open field. So now that you've seen what this looks like, let's go over how you actually create an observation of your own in the Observer Pro app. Now that you've seen an observation on the CalFlora website, let's talk about how to make your own observations using the CalFlora Observer Pro app. This is what it looks like once you're logged into the app. You'll have to register for a free account. If you have any issues logging in, you may want to contact CalFlora for assistance. For now, let's start by hitting the plus sign Observe button in the bottom right corner. This is the observation screen, where I enter all the details about the observation I'm going to make. First, I have to enter the plant that I'm seeing. You hit the area where it says touch to select plant. It brings up the scientific names. Now, a lot of us don't know the scientific name, so if we don't know, let's switch scientific name to common name. In this case, the name of the plant that we're looking at is mosquito bill. So that's what I'm going to search for. Now I see it come up already, mosquito bill, and I confirm that it's the right plant. It is, so I'm going to hit select in the bottom right corner, and it populates the plant field with that plant. Now I have the option of adding up to 3 photos. Hit the word picture, it opens your camera roll, and you select the photo that you'd like to be in your observation. It shows up in the picture field. For now I don't have any notes, but if I did, I would add them in this space. The map will automatically be updated with the GPS coordinates where I observed the plant. Now I'm going to look at habitat. I found it in the park, and I'm going to note in the location description that I found this specimen in Briones Regional Park. Next, I'm going to specify the number of plants. In this case, it was just one plant, but oftentimes it's many plants bunched together. In that case, do your best to guess how many plants were there. You could stop there if you'd like and just save your observation and move on, but I'm going to also add that the plant was flowering at the time that I observed it and that it was a single plant. Now I'm going to save, and my observation is now complete. It shows up in my history as an observation. In order to get the observation onto the CalFlora database, you select Upload All in the lower left corner. I have now paused the video to answer questions. But first, a couple notes about the Observer Pro app. If you're unsure of what type of plant you're observing, you can type unknown into the plant field instead of selecting a common or scientific plant name. Once you've uploaded all your observations, go to the calflora.org website and navigate to the My Observations section to publish them. This action adds your observations to the public database. So if you don't publish them, they don't get it to the public database. Another note is you will have to be on Wi-Fi to download the app and also to upload your completed observations, but you do not need a Wi-Fi connection when you're making your observations. So don't worry if your Wi-Fi doesn't work in your backyard or your neighborhood park, you can still make observations. Interestingly, CalFlora usage went up 5 to 10% in March, and the CalFlora team is expecting a 10 to 20% increase in April. I encourage you to join all the citizen scientists who are adding great info to the database. Remember that during this presentation, you can send questions to me at any time using the Zoom chat function. There don't appear to be any questions at this time, so we will move on. The next citizen science resource I'd like to share with you is eBird and the associated Merlin Bird ID app. eBird is the world's largest biodiversity-related citizen science project, with more than 100 million bird sightings contributed each year by eBirders around the world. eBird data document bird distribution, abundance, habitat use, and trends through checklist data collected within a simple scientific framework. Birders enter when, where, and how they went birding, and then fill out a checklist of all the birds seen and heard during the outing. That said, you can participate and make checklists by just looking out your window. First, navigate to ebird.org, sign up for a free account. Then, on the home page, click Submit. First, you enter your location. Once you've done this a couple of times, this drop-down menu will populate with past locations where you've birded. Let's say I'm birding at Big Break Regional Shoreline. Press Continue, and then you give the date. Let's say I observed the following birds on April 12th. While I was at Big Break, I traveled a specific distance walking a trail. I started at 10:30 a.m. and I birded for about an hour. I traveled a total of 1 mile, and it was just me. I hit Continue, and eBird generates a list of birds based on my location. Now, you might be saying, I'm not really a bird expert, or I don't really know how to ID birds. Well, that's fine. Let's just assume for now that we all know what a pigeon is, and let's say we saw 3 pigeons, and we saw an Anna's hummingbird. We'll come back to IDing birds in a moment. Before submitting your checklist, you can add details to each of the birds that you saw. For example, if the Anna's hummingbird was flying around, I could say that the bird was flying. I could also add a breeding code. For example, if I saw this bird singing, I would select singing bird. You don't have to do this, but you can if you'd like to. Let's say that those were all the birds that I was able to identify during my birding outing. If that's the case, I hit yes on this yes or no question, and then I hit submit. I've just created an eBird checklist. How easy was that? The Merlin Bird ID app is available on Android and iPhone. When you first download the app, which is free, follow the prompts, one of which will ask you to download a bird pack, which is basically the information for the birds found in a given region. So for my app, I downloaded the US West Coast Bird Pack. Choosing a bird pack to download lets you personalize Merlin to cover your region of interest and reduces the demand on your phone's storage. It also allows Merlin to function offline. You can access the data in the app by pressing the Explore Birds button and reviewing the list of birds and data provided there. but I think the best part of Merlin is its guided identification prompts. For example, let's say that I saw a medium-sized bird on April 14th in Concord, California. I saw that it was primarily black, red, and white, and I heard its call. With this information, I can now try to ID the bird. Press the Start Bird ID button and add where you saw the bird. In this case, Concord, California. The date was April 14th. Then the app will ask you for the size of the bird. In the case of the bird I saw, I would say it was larger than a robin, but smaller than a crow. So I've selected between robin and crow. Next, you have the option to add up to 3 colors to describe the coloration of the bird. In this case, the bird we're trying to ID was black, red, and white. Next, provide some context for the app. Where was the bird? The bird I saw was in a tree. Now the app will generate a list of birds based on the info I provided and based on the data from eBird. This means the data you provide in eBird via checklists may actually be helping you ID birds on the app. Based on the photos, I believe the bird that I saw was a hairy woodpecker. I'll select it. Selecting a bird from the list allows you to see photos of different specimens, males and females, and different populations. But I'm still not quite sure about this ID. Let's see if I can confirm this ID based on the sound the bird made. Select Sounds at the bottom of the screen. Here you'll see various pre-recorded calls and songs of the hairy woodpecker. I'll listen to one of the calls. Based on this info, I can confirm that the bird that I saw was a hairy woodpecker. How cool is that? If I was still unsure about the ID or just wanted to see more choices, I can go back and change any of the inputs, which will change the list accordingly. Finally, once you've determined your bird's ID, as we did with the hairy woodpecker, select Yes, this is my bird. This helps the app learn and feeds information back to eBird. So remember that during this presentation, you can send questions to me at any time using the Zoom chat function. It doesn't appear that there are any questions coming in right now, so I believe we will move on. Next, I'd like to tell you a bit about bugguide.net. This site has a special place in my heart as I've been a contributor of insect photos on the site since 2006, when I was taking an entomology class at UC Berkeley. The site is a repository of photographs of bugs from the US and Canada. The images are used for identification and research. It can be fun to browse the panel on the left, which sorts insects based on general shape. Say you're interested in butterflies. Simply click on the butterfly image to see classification information, read about how to ID butterflies, or find great books and other resources. Of course, you can also just peruse the fantastic photos by selecting images. Even if you have zero interest in insects, the site can still be useful. All of us have at one time wondered, what kind of spider is hanging out on my bedroom wall? Some of us have had to figure out what is causing damage to my favorite garden plant, or what is causing damage to my home, termites, carpenter bees, etc. If you're in any of these situations, or if you're just curious about a bug you saw, take a photo of it, or multiple photos, and use the ID request feature. In order to use the feature, you'll have to sign up for a free account. Once you do, you can upload a photo or multiple photos, and soon an entomologist or fellow citizen scientist will identify the insect for you. If your photos are of good quality, they will be moved to the correct location in the guide based on the identification. I'll show you how to request an ID, and you can try it later today. First step is click Add Image. Then you basically follow the prompts. I have an unknown bee that I'd like to identify, so that's what I'm going to call it. Next, I'll enter the state in which I saw it. The county was Contra Costa, and the city was Concord. The date was April 12th, 2020. For now, I'm going to skip the size. If you know the size, it's great to enter, but it's not mandatory. Same with the identifier. Next, I will choose the photo from my computer that I'd like to have ID'd. I will have the opportunity to add more photos, but first you enter one photo, and then you can go back and add more photos later. If you have any notes, you can add them to the remarks box. In this case, I know that the bee that I saw was on a specific plant, so I'm going to make a note of that. I don't know whether the insect is a male, female, adult, or if it's immature. I have a hunch that it's an adult, but since I don't know for sure, I'm not going to check it. You leave this blank if the image is your own, and then you hit Submit. My ID request has been submitted. Now I can go to ID request and see my bee photo has been posted. If I want to add more photos, I can do so in clicking Add Image. My information is still there, but I can add some more photos from my computer. Now, if I go back, I'll see both photos, and they are linked together. Now I'm going to show you a few of my images and some of the things I learned about them by sharing them on Bug Guide. Click on Your Images, and you'll also see that the images that I just added of the unknown bee have been added to my image list. Many years ago, I posted this image of some aphids that I saw. It's not a great image, but what I love about it is that it inspired Ron to post his own photo and inform me that many aphids actually give live birth. I may never have known that if I hadn't posted this image to Bug Guide. I took these images of a swallowtail in Chicago, and it spurred an interesting conversation about how to ID different kinds of swallowtails, particularly how important the markings are. Finally, I'd like to share with you a picture of a damselfly, not because anything interesting happened with it, but because I think it's hilarious. I hope you're inspired to check out bugguide.net.
Interestingly, since I posted those photos of the unknown bee last week, they have been identified as a black-tailed bumblebee. So now we know. It's a really fun thing to do. People respond relatively quickly and often respond with information that you were not expecting.
The final citizen science resource I'd like to share with you today is an app called Seek. It was created by the team at iNaturalist, which is a great citizen science resource in and of itself. iNaturalist is a database, sort of like eBird, but for any living thing. I urge you to check out inaturalist.org and to add observations on their website or on their other mobile app simply called iNaturalist. But today I want to show you Seek because I think it's the simplest, most fun way to explore nature using a smartphone. And it's great for impressing friends. Seek uses image recognition technology to identify the plants and animals all around you in real time. The technology is based on observations submitted to inaturalist.org and partner sites. So again, if you enter information on iNaturalist, you're actually helping yourself identify organisms with the Seek app. Once you've downloaded the app, which is free and does not require prior registration, Seek will ask your permission to turn on location services, but your location is obscured to respect your privacy while still allowing species suggestions from your general area. So as you can see on my screen, the Seek app knows that I'm in Concord, and it shows me different species that have been observed near my location. You can peruse the species information from this screen, and you can also limit the types of species you see. So, for example, if I just want to see which types of amphibians live near me, I can filter the results using the icon that looks like 3 horizontal lines. Seek also has challenges that you can participate in. The app automatically keeps track of your progress toward completing challenges and awards badges for completing them. I recommend checking out the new challenge that just came out this April, the Citizen Science Challenge. All you need to do to complete the challenge is observe 10 new species. I like to joke with my family that it's kind of like Pokemon Go, but real. When you press the green button with the camera on it, you have the option of using your camera and accessing photos that you've already taken. When you tap Photos, the app shows you your camera roll, and you can select a photo of a species you'd like to identify. Remember the mosquito bill, which is also known as Henderson's shooting star? Let's identify it. Tap Identify Photo, and the app will show you the species information. In my case, the app also tells me that I've seen this species before and when. Select View Species if you'd like to see more photos of the species or if you'd like to read about it. You also have the option at this point to post your observation to iNaturalist by pressing the Post to iNaturalist button. If you do that, you can add notes if you'd like, and then press the Post to iNaturalist button again. I've already posted this species, so I won't press the button again. So here's the very best part of Seek. When you switch from the Photos view to the Camera view, you can use the camera to scan your environment, and Seek will identify species as you point your camera at them. Right away, Seek has recognized that this is an aloe, and it has also recognized that it is a soap aloe, and it says species at the top of the screen. Now that we have it down to the species level, we can hit the green button and take a photo of the specimen. As usual, you can click View Species if you'd like to see information about it. Seek doesn't immediately know what this one is, but it just takes a moment for it to recognize that it's pig's ear, and we'll snap a photo of it. How fun is that? Seek doesn't always know what every species is, and sometimes it's a bit inaccurate, but overall, the image recognition works brilliantly and will impress you with its abilities. It almost seems like magic, but it's not. It's science.
So next I'm going to share a couple of other citizen science app resources, but first I wanted to make a couple notes about Seek. I like to use Seek to confirm an identification before I submit observations on either CalFlora or before submitting checklists on eBird. Seek just helps me ensure that the data I provide on citizen science databases is of high quality, because that's really important for citizen science. One other note is that children under 13 can't have their own iNaturalist accounts, but they can still use Seek. And Seek is actually particularly great for using with kids. They get really excited about it. Doesn't look like I have any questions. If anyone has any, just go ahead and post them into the chat box. But I wanted to show you that if you enjoyed learning about any of these apps and websites, you may want to check out the websites on your screen because they have tons of other really interesting citizen science resources and other fun projects. And speaking of projects, there are always tons of ongoing citizen science projects going on, but these are a couple that you can actually participate in right now. They're ongoing and they utilize some of the websites that we talked about, but also some others. I see a question from, I believe, from Lisa Lackey. She says, what would you suggest for learning about a specific bird's behavior that you observe? I would definitely suggest going to eBird. They actually, not only is there tons of information on that site, but the Cornell Lab of Ornithology will actually take ID and general bird questions via email, which is pretty amazing. They probably get a ton of emails. And if you're also interested particularly in birds, Celebrate Urban Birds and Nest Watch are a couple of the ongoing citizen science projects that you can participate in right now. So if there were any other questions, now's the time. I hope you'll join the Contra Costa Resource Conservation District for its other Digital Earth Week presentations. There will be new presentations every day through Friday the 24th. I'd also like to mention that the CCRCD is partnering with the John Muir Land Trust to bring you a virtual botany hike at Fernandez Ranch on May 6th at 1 p.m. To get more information and to sign up for this free online event, please visit ccrcd.org/events and select Virtual Botany Hike at Fernandez Ranch. Thank you so much for joining me for this exploration of citizen science resources. I hope you're inspired to give them a try. And thanks, Diane, for the comment about the photos. Thank you. And those photos that you saw on Bug Guide are all open to the public. So even if you don't want to register for an account, you can just go on and browse. And sometimes you can actually find people that you already know. Let's see. Oh, was there another question from Lisa? Oh, are there any apps for collecting data about trash? Great question. There are actually tons of them, but a couple of the ones that we've used at the RCD include one called Clean Swell, 2 words, clean and swell, and another one that is called Marine Debris Tracker. And that one is actually linked to National Geographic, and it allows you to track trash that you find. So those would be the ones that I would recommend, but there are a bunch of them. Yeah, if there were any other questions, I can take those. So I'll give you a couple seconds, but other than that, thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that you're inspired to try some of these things out. Just look out the window and get involved in citizen science. Awesome, thank you, Trika. I appreciate your comment. Thanks, Soph. All right, I am going to go ahead and close out. Thank you guys so much. Please enjoy Digital Earth Week. Happy Earth Day.